And now, live in studio, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Yes, here we are again, another day committed to helping you win in any marketplace. Brandon Rhymes here, your host of the Consumer Quarterback Show. We want to educate, entertain, enlighten, and most importantly, engage so that we can help you win.
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
Save our hotline number in your phone. At some point, you're going to need it. 813-670-7372.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
Had a lot of calls last week. People want to list their house, look at refinancing their mortgage, maybe get their credit improved. We had a lot of calls, an uptick in calls last week, so thanks for that. 813-670-7372. And make sure you save our hotline number in your phone. At some point, you're going to need it. Also, bookmark our website, consumerqb.com. You can see a plethora of information available for you on our website at consumerqb.com. And we want to make sure that we are your consumer advocate, all things real estate, credit, finance, estate plans, tax plans, and much, much more here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. This segment is brought to you by Brothers Easy Moving. The official moving partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show is Brothers Easy Moving. And I can tell you from first-hand experience that they are a first-class organization. The owner is Gary Thacker, and Brothers Easy Moving does a great job. Local or long distance moves. They are the best Tampa Bay mover, in my opinion. Check them out online as well. They're one of the best reviewed movers online. 4.6 rating on Google, A rating on the Better Business Bureau and Angie's List. Check out Brothers Easy Moving and let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. All right, in studio today, Scott Kepler in the house, Mortgage Approval Group. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks, Brandon. Always good to be here. Looking forward to helping the folks out there with their mortgage-related questions and uncovering some mysteries and, just bringing some good consumer advocacy.
That's right. Yeah, all those misnomers around mortgage and applying for a loan and all types of what loan programs do you have? What about down payment assistance? All these questions. We want to be that consumer advocate. Thanks for coming in, Scott. Also back in studio, been a little while. Jake Alexander Financial. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. It's been a while. I'm glad to be back. We survived the hectic tax season, and we're glad to come back with a little bit of an update and kind of talk about some fun stuff.
That's right, yeah. And Jake Alexander Financial, commonly referred to in the industry as CPAs, but not exactly a CPA. He's, in my opinion, a step above or better, in my opinion. He's an enrolled agent with the IRS in all 50 states, right?
Yeah, an enrolled agent is a federal license compared to a CPA, which is a state license. I don't throw out there that one's better or worse or anything like that as much as they're just different.
Okay.
CPA is a really commonly known term. EA a little less commonly known, but very powerful in my opinion. So
cool.
Yeah.
What about a PA?
PA is Professional Association. Makes you sound like a doctor or makes you sound like a lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I like it.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
That's right. Yeah, man. So Jake Alexander, so we're going to have a good, intelligent conversation here today. What I thought we would talk about is, a lot of the misnomers, of course, in both professions, but a lot of those commonly asked questions and frequently overlooked questions, people that they don't ask, but then all of a sudden it comes to bite them later. We want to help them kind of, head that off before it happens. Right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, we're your number one consumer advocate on Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Sony TV, Google Play, over 85 outlets now, including our radio and TV shows. So check us out on all of those outlets. Just search up Binge Networks. It's on Binge Network. And here in studio helping you win. A couple of hot listings. As you know, I'm the owner of the Platinum MVP team. My wife and I own and operate the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty, the number one real estate company in the world. We got a couple of hot listings. This one is right on the beach. One of my favorite listings here, 3607 Casablanca Avenue, St. Pete Beach. Now, perfectly positioned between the Hotel Zamora and the Don Cesar. So if you're down there, you live in this beautiful little home, 2-bedroom, 2-bath property right on the beach. You know, you got the walkability. You walk down for dinner and drinks at the Zamora, or maybe you mix it up, you go to the Don Cesar, or just right down the road is the Undertow. What a great lifestyle you can afford there with the walkability at 3607 Casablanca Avenue. Right around $400,000 gets you the keys to this beautiful home. And we do have another property that is listed as well, and this one's 13508 Indian Oaks Trail. Now, Indian Oaks Trail is a Largo property. Now, this property here, it's got a pool, just a gorgeous home on the end of a nice street, and it's a great subdivision, Indian Oaks subdivision here in Tampa Bay. Check out PlatinumMVPTeam.com for all your real estate needs. PlatinumMVPTeam.com, and we're going to help you win hot real estate properties here in beautiful Tampa Bay. And attention realtors out there, or even sales professionals, mortgage insurance professionals, we got a really cool event coming up, Become a Better Agent. This is a cool event coming up on the 20th, May 20th, Monday. I'm going to be speaking at the Greater Tampa Realtors Association. It's on Kennedy Boulevard in Tampa. And I'm going to be speaking about branding. Of course, you know, as the real estate quarterback, I know a thing or two about branding, but also one of my latest passions has been really submersing and going into negotiation and learn how to negotiate like the FBI. So this is I'm going to be teaching that subject as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. BABA 31, and we'd love to see you there. Check out for more information, just shoot us an email, consumerqb.com. And let's jump right into it. So we got Scott Kepler in the house, Mortgage Approval Group, Jake Alexander Financial. So Scott, when people are bringing their income to the table, one of the questions that they have is, you know, especially for self-employed borrowers, so they may not understand the way that they look at their tax returns may not be the way that you're going to look at it or the lender will look at it. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why we want to get the tax returns as early in the process as possible when we're dealing with somebody who is self-employed, because we want to be able to allocate the right income amount, you know, that we're using for qualifying. And it's the way that the underwriter is going to break it down. And, you know, it's a little bit different than the way an employer or a self-employed person looks at their tax returns, and probably a lot different than their CPA looks at it.
Yeah.
You know, because there's certain things that we're able to add back in that they're able to write off on their taxes that we can add back in as part of their monthly income. And so it's important that we get those, because they may show a really low number, but because we're able to add back some of those deductions in, that increases that number. And a lot of times those are the big deductions. So it helps out the way that it's calculated. And that's why, you know, if you're self-employed and you just, you know, don't disqualify yourself right off the bat. Not to mention there's other alternatives. You know, that's the first step, but we always want to look at the tax returns first.
Right.
But, you know, if we need to go to a backup plan, you know, we have programs that allow for, you know, 12 months or 24 months bank statements, you know, as a source of the monthly income, because we can see those monthly deposits over time and determine what their expenses are over time, and we get a real good idea of how much they're actually bringing into their business.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you look at the ability to look at tax returns instead of in lieu of the traditional tax forms. You're looking at income there, and Jake, that's something that really, the bottom line is, how much money is coming in and out of business when you look at cash flow.
Yep.
and versus what they're writing off.
Yeah, as soon as you brought this up, I was like, oh, I've got some stuff right here. This is great. So the depreciation, a lot of people don't know. You can add that back in when qualifying for a mortgage. We're actually going through an instance now with a client, and we love all our clients, but sometimes these things come up and they drive you a little crazy. If you are self-employed and you plan on buying a house, work with your tax professional proactively. Don't go find the house that you want, find the mortgage person, and then say all of a sudden I need the last 2 years done plus a P&L for the last 6 months because now my mortgage guy is asking for it.
That's a lot of money or a lot of time and effort.
It
on your
takes
part.
time to create that stuff, and that's one of the biggest reasons you want to stay on top of it year after year, and have quarterly reviews and have some sort of P&L or bookkeeping system in place so you can have those documents when you need them readily available.
Absolutely. I mean, because that makes the process so much easier. But I think the other part, and something that I communicate with people, when we sit down and we look at, here's your tax returns, and you're coming up to the end of 2018, let's say, or 2019, and you're going to be doing your taxes come the first of the year at some point.
Right.
Communicate with your CPA and tell him, hey, here's what I'm trying to do, so that they can help you work it out to where maybe there's a deduction that they can take over time or push off from one time to the next.
Right.
And that, it's going to cost them a little bit more on their tax bill, when they actually pay those taxes.
Yep.
But it's going to save them in the long run over the amount of money that they're either throwing away on rent,
right,
or on a higher interest rate. And so it's cheaper to pay the IRS this one time,
right,
than it is to take that higher interest rate over a long term, or to continue to rent over the long term.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. Yeah. So that's absolutely what we tell people. It's all about just working as a team to make sure everyone's on the same page, and that way there's no surprises,
Yeah, it really is. It's like a well-run organization. I mean, look at the Patriots in football, right?
Yeah.
It's
everything.
all about communication.
Yeah.
I think that's what the whole relationship is, and why I like working with your team, and I like working with people in the network, is because everybody communicates and understands that's a key part of the business.
That's right.
And for the consumer, it's a key part that they communicate and let everybody in their circle know who has an impact on what you're doing.
Certainly, especially when you have different types of things pending. Maybe you have lawsuits pending. You've got all these different areas that are going to overlap and affect each other. So you want your enrolled agent talking to your mortgage professional, talking to your insurance agent or your property and casualty insurance agent, talking to your attorney, whatever type of law you're looking at. And by the way, make changes here. You got to change your estate plan. Now your estate plan needs updating. There's a lot of things that we're going to help you with here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. So stay with us. More from our expert contributors coming up. And we have a feel-good story of the day as well. A man named Miracle saves woman who plunged into creek. Stay with us right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
His name's Miracle? A man-made Miracle?
Hey, everybody. I'm celebrity TV fitness host and creator of The Spin Gym. I'm here today with Brandon Rhymes, and you're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show. Great ways to get happy, healthy, and wealthy.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.
3. On the golf course, or?
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by True Leaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. And we'd love to help you buying, selling, or investing. Give us a call, 813-670-7372. That's our Consumer Advocate Hotline, 813-670-7372. Any comments, concerns, questions you have during the show, open phone lines are available for you. A couple of hot listings here from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. This one's at 11540 Shipwatch Drive. Now, this is a condo. This two-bedroom, two-bath condo close to the beach, literally minutes to the beach. Shipwatch Drive, unit number 1391 in Largo. A great opportunity. It's waterfront, views of the pool, views of the pond as well. Just a great opportunity here in beautiful Tampa Bay. Nice opportunity close to the beaches as well. 12610 Port Marnock is a beautiful property. Now, this property is gorgeous. Owner has really well maintained, kept this property up, and we're waiting on professional photography still. That will be done this week. A 5-bedroom, 3-bath, gated community, the Turnberry at the Eagles. And this home sits on one of the best lots. Now, you got a great water view in the front and a golf course view in the back. No backyard neighbors, no front yard neighbors. Great opportunity here in beautiful Tampa Bay. Check out the Platinum MVP team.com.
Somewhere sunny and 75.
And this segment is brought to you by the Bilmar Beach Resort, the official hotel partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. The Bilmar Beach Resort on beautiful Gulf Boulevard in Treasure Island, filled with fantastic and generous amenities to make your vacation that much more special. The Bilmar Beach Resort has been one of the most sought-after destinations in the Treasure Island area for many years, and I love it when I go hang out there. We've got 2 pools on site. You've got Sloppy Joe's Restaurant and Bar, and they actually have this weekend going on a Tom Petty cover band that's going to close down the Treasure Island. They're going to have a big block party. We're going to be down there. It's going to be a great time.
Cool.
And Bilmar Beach Resort, give Clyde Smith, he's the general manager, give Clyde Smith a call and ask him for the special offer and incentives just by mentioning that you're a fan of the Consumer Quarterback Show. The Bilmar Beach Resort, the official hotel partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. All right, back here in studio, we got Intelligent Talk Radio and some intelligent folks here in studio talking about the real estate side, the mortgage side, and then also, since we have our enrolled agent, our tax specialist in studio, Alexander Financial, we're talking about income verifications and a lot of the different components around that, and also misnomers. So we got Scott Kepler in the house, local lender, support your local economy here, Mortgage Approval Group, and Jake Alexander Financial. So yeah, where do you guys want to take it? I know we were talking a little bit during the break there, but when it comes to income, you know, tax returns, bank statements, you take into account the depreciation. What else are you seeing as a misnomer out there? What are some of the problems, complications that people have?
I think, and this may be a good and just for me to even figure out exactly how it works, but where we see a lot of confusion is when, like, this one, it's a married couple and one is a wage earning spouse and the other is self-employed. How exactly does that factor into the consideration?
So each business or income source is all calculated individually. So, for example, I sometimes run into self-employed people that have, several businesses, and when they have several different businesses, we calculate them all separately. And so the income's not all lumped together.
It's not just the number. It's not just the net number of all the income.
At the end of the day, what we use to qualify them for debt ratio purposes and that kind of thing is all the end number all added together, all the different sources added together.
Right.
But we calculate each source differently. So if you've got a W-2 employee, as one borrower, then we calculate that borrower's W-2 income and we put it in, here's her W-2 income or his W-2 income.
Right.
And then if the other borrower is a self-employed borrower and they have an S-Corp, then we calculate it based on their individual tax returns because it'll have the Schedule E in there showing the S-Corp and their K-1s with the, percentage of the business owned in the profit and so on.
Yep.
And then we also look at the corporate tax returns at that point. if they're a Schedule C, it makes it a little easier because it's just a 2-page form typically. But every different type of income is calculated differently. And in some cases, you'll get somebody who has W-2 income and a Schedule C because they've got some sort of side hustle going on. They're an Uber driver, or they're, selling, leggings or whatever, other, side hustles. There's hundreds of them out there, that they have going on. They've got that on a Schedule C on the side. So each individual piece of income is calculated differently. So that's why we have to get that paperwork. A lot of times everybody's like, there's just so much paperwork.
2-year history also.
Yeah, typically 2 years.
Right.
The nice part about it is I've talked about the guidelines being more and more flexible over time. If somebody's self-employed for 5 years, typically we can get away with just 1 year of the most recent year. You don't get to pick the year, but the
1 out of 5.
Yeah. Let's go back to
94. Yeah.
2016 was a good year. Let's go there. No, it was the most recent year, that you filed. That's the year that we'll utilize.
That's
interesting.
interesting.
So sometimes that works out, especially if you're in a growing business, or you get somebody who was putting a lot of money back into the business in the first 3 or 4 years, and now they're finally breaking into that black. And they're getting to where they're showing a larger profit or a profit at all.
Yep.
We can utilize that. And, a lot of times I see that's what happens is they finally are at the spot in their business where they're making a profit and they're growing and growing and growing. And now they're time to upgrade their house.
Yeah.
And instead of,
You're looking at the trends basically.
Yeah, exactly. We look over a 2-year trend typically, but if 1 year makes more sense and they qualify for that, then we'll go that route.
Yeah.
What if it's the opposite? If it's a downward trend, but they're not involved in that business anymore, is that able to be like
It's
not considered?
Typically, if it's a downward trend, it depending on the situation, it's a little bit more case by case. But typically, they'll either use the lower of the 2 incomes, when you average it. So if you average 2017 was higher than 2018, you're going to get a higher average than what they actually made in 2018. So we would take the lower average in that situation. If it's a large decline, they a lot of times will not allow us to use that income at all to qualify.
Oh.
Because they feel like if it's a large enough decline, then it might not be income that can be dependent on for the future.
Okay.
Interesting. So if you just joined us, Brandon Rhymes here. I'm your host of the show. We're talking with Scott Kepler, Mortgage Approval Group, and Jake Alexander in the house, Alexander Financial. And wanted to ask you, Jake, as well, have you seen more inflated tax returns, money coming back to people with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in full effect?
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Right now. So now that's what we're hearing. I saw, I think, a study or statistic that said around 74% of small business owners claimed that they were better off this year according to taxes.
Yeah. Small business owners are the winners, hands down, in my opinion, with this whole change to the tax code. So there's a thing called QBI, which is you get a 20% deduction to your QBI, which is qualified business income. So anything that comes from a business of being self-employed, and for easy numbers, let's say your net income is $100,000.
Okay.
You essentially get a 20% deduction right off the top, so you pay taxes on $80,000 instead of $100,000.
Nice.
And where this has been really interesting, and this was my wife and I's personal situation, is we're married, we file together.
Yep.
She is a W-2 wage earner, so she's had withholdings out of her paycheck all year long. I'm self-employed. I own my own company. So with this 20% deduction, we had a good little cushion there. Plus, we just had our son last year, plug for him, right?
Nice, yeah.
So we got to add him on there. That was kind of interesting to type him into my tax return for the first time.
Yeah,
that was
cool,
pretty
man.
cool. But so with that, it created a really good scenario, which I was thrown off by. And so kind of what I've found is like the ultimate sweet spot for the people who are seeing the biggest benefit is married couples where one of the spouses are W-2 wage earners, the other self-employed.
Interesting.
And with one dependent. Yeah. So.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's good to hear. I mean, it seems like the economy is really booming along. You got the lowest unemployment in years and decades, I believe. Things are really rocking, it seems. And of course, now we're entering into that political
Here it comes
cycle.
again. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's already starting. Can you believe what he said? And that here we go again. But we don't talk politics on this show. But anyways, yeah. So some great stuff here to talk about. So when we come back, I think we'll dive deeper into some of these different economic things that Jake's seeing on the tax side, also maybe some planning, because I think so many people still they don't do the quarterly, they don't do their planning properly. So we'll talk a little bit about planning, strategic, and maybe some innovative ideas, as well as our feel-good story of the day. This is a great one. It says, a man named Miracle saves woman who plunged into creek, coming up in our feel-good. Follow us online at Brandon Rhymes 1 on Instagram and Twitter, and the Consumer Quarterback Show page, of course, on Facebook and LinkedIn out there. And we'll see you right after this short break. Don't go anywhere. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by Trulieve on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. We're recruiting agents right now. If you are a real estate agent, we'd love to talk to you. I also have administrative position available as well. ConsumerQB.com. Just submit the email form at ConsumerQB.com. And this segment is brought to you by the Lucky Dill Restaurant. The official restaurant partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show is the Lucky Dill Restaurant, Deli, New York City Bar, Brooklyn Bakery. They do catering as well. And check them out online, theluckydilldeli.com. And they are located at 4606 West Boy Scout Boulevard in Tampa. They also have a Palm Harbor location on US 19. Had a wonderful breakfast there this past weekend. It was really good, really excellent food. And home of the sandwich that ate Brooklyn. The Lucky Dill is the official restaurant partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Awesome ambiance in there as well. TVs all over the place, comfortable seating, friendly staff. The Lucky Dill Restaurant, the official restaurant partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Make sure you go in, let them know the Real Estate Quarterback sent you, take them up on special offers and incentives, and they're going to hook you up as well with a free water with lemon every time you go in there. They're going to take care of you.
Classy.
Yeah. We got Scott Kepler in the house, Mortgage Approval Group, local lender, support the local economy here in Tampa Bay. Jake Alexander Financial as well, local tax professional, enrolled agent with the IRS, and wanted to talk a little bit about discounters as well. Rob, let's put that discounter picture up there. This one's kind of an interesting thing. We had talked about before where we were kind of beating up on the hedge funds is what I called it. Let's do that. Let's beat up on the hedge funds a little bit. But you got a lot of these out of town buyers, these big hedge fund builders. Now, what this graph is showing here is if you look at a lot of these so-called, we're not going to charge any fees. We're going to discount the commission. We're going to offer you a 1% discount. As I look across there, I don't see any 1% anywhere. Okay. And then you've got some of these major companies that you see, not sure if I should name names due to legal things, but you can read the screen here. But if you look at, a lot of these companies here, the average commissions, 2.8, 2.7, 2.7, 2.6. There's one that's at 2.5, 2.5. And then you look at the Keller Williams Realty there. You look at the volume in millions. So a lot of those guys are right at 10 million, less than 10 million. A lot of them are around half, probably 1 or 2 million. And then you look at ours. We're up around, my office in Clearwater is over $100 million in volume, close to 12 million, 113 million, I believe. Now, when you look at that, those are residential sales. So you look at the volume that's being done by these companies, and then you look also at their claims. Their claims are that they're low fees, they're no cost, discount this, all that. A lot of those companies actually buy your property as well under value. So I can email you this report if you'd like to see this report. I will email it to you. ConsumerQB.com. Go to ConsumerQB.com, and I'll show you the proof. The proof is right there. Those are statistics that are available to every company. They're public numbers. And the thing with Keller Williams Realty, if you look at what we're doing, is it's full service. We're offering the best possible marketing, the best negotiation, the best service, the best training, education. Everybody knows that. So kind of right along the lines of, Scott, with some of these even mortgage companies getting into the game as well, claiming that they're not charging points and fees and there's no closing cost here. What's the deal there? How do they do that?
It's usually hidden somewhere, and I think with the discount brokers that you were talking about on the real estate side, it's in a transaction fee, which isn't included in that commission.
So they call it a different fee.
They call it a different fee, and they charge the same amount. And so it makes it look as if you got to read the small print.
Yep.
And it ends up working out the same. At least from what I've seen. I mean, that may not be the case with all of them.
Especially the ones that have the mortgage arm and they've got the real estate arm and the acquisition arm too. So they're buying the real estate at a discount. They're not giving the homeowner the full amount of money that they could afford. And then what they're doing is they are in my opinion, it's misleading, false advertising, in my opinion. So
sure.
You're not coming forward with what you're actually going to do, and the numbers prove it.
Right.
When you look at it.
Right. And that's what it comes down to. And, some way or another, it's the same thing when it happens on the mortgage side.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So support the local economy. Scott Kepler, Mortgage Approval Group, great team. He can come out and sit down with you. He can make a house call, go to your work, or you can come to his office. However you guys like to do that. 3% down is also a great opportunity. Where in the world can you find an investment where you can take 3% down and control a $500,000 asset? For $15,000 now, 3% down, you're controlling a $500,000 asset.
absolutely.
That's leverage.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we were saying earlier about the lending products being more and more flexible, as time goes on.
Right.
And that's one of the great things that's available right now.
That's right.
Like you said, you can get into a $500,000 property for $15,000. I mean,
Right.
that's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
And the qualifications for that aren't exactly tough, if you will, as long as you have the income to support it. That's the big key, is that you got to have the income to support it. So we've talked about a perfect storm of the big spring sales season for houses going into summer.
That's
and
right.
low interest rates and flexible loan programs. If you're renting now, you're missing out.
Absolutely.
Or if you're thinking about upgrading, now's the time to do it.
That's right.
There's some great programs. Or if you own your home and you're thinking, I need to do renovations, let's talk about a renovation loan.
That's right.
Take advantage of it while it's low. Is it higher than it was, 2 years ago, when it was in the low threes? Yeah, it's higher than it was, but it's a heck of a lot lower than it was, in the 80s.
Yeah.
And when it was double digits, and that was a good interest rate.
Yep.
And if you compare it to what you're paying on credit cards and things of that sort, it's a lot lower.
Absolutely.
If you're going to do a renovation, let's borrow it at a reasonable number and stretch it out to where it's affordable for you, so you don't get in, over your head by using credit cards that are, 20% interest, because they give you 6 months same as cash, and
That's right.
or 0% interest, if you will, for 6 months, and then you don't pay it off, and you get whacked with that
That's
big
right.
interest charge.
Yeah, they bait you into that long-term play.
Well, talk to somebody who knows, how to make your goal a reality. And I think the theme has been a lot about communication. If you just communicate with people who know what's going on, and they'll help you get there.
Yeah, especially for renters. I mean, that's the biggest one in my book, especially, maybe it's not you personally. If you're driving your vehicle right now, you're listening, maybe you're watching our TV show on one of our networks, but it's not you. Maybe it's a loved one. And that's where I would ask you, as a compassionate person, reach out to that person that that is renting, and maybe be a coach to them. Maybe it's a place where, you're being called to be a mentor for someone else. It's not just about us so many times. I think we fall into that mindset. So if you know of somebody that's renting out there, I'd love for you to have them call the show. We'll change their life, and they'll thank you for it. When you think about the rents that you're paying right now, they are, Harvard did a study years ago, the rents are rising, and they have continued to rise here in Tampa Bay. And when you look at it, you're paying about 40% more, 30 to 40%. In most cases than you could actually own for. So think about the compounding of those numbers over the years, and the money that you're missing out in buildup of equity debt pay down, the advantages and tax returns as well, and huge numbers there. So text the word rent and the amount of rent that you're paying or a loved one is paying to 813-670-7372. All you have to do is text the word rent and the amount of rent that you're paying to 813-670-7372, and I'd love to put you in touch with our mortgage team. They're going to sit down with you. They're going to break down the numbers. They're going to show you a rent versus own analysis, and at least take the call, make the text, and then have that number, have that data. Empower yourself with this information that's going to help you live a better life. 813-670-7372, and of course, consumerqb.com. You can go to the website and just submit an email form. But Jake, with that said, huge number, huge advantages when you look at the depreciation, the tax write-offs, the incentives.
Oh yeah, we advise people. I mean, one of the strongest investment plays over time, in my opinion, is rental property, because you do get to take advantage of the depreciation. I mean, and depending on the situation, you can be in a position where you're positively cash flowing every month on an asset that's going up in value while saving money on your taxes. It's like
That's
the
right.
triple play. It doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, there's been a lot of changes, and I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes into the ability to deduct mortgage interest and taxes on your primary residence.
Yep.
The changes to the standard deduction just changed a lot of that stuff, and a lot of people are, I don't want to say concerned, but maybe wanting like a little bit of kind of more validation of how it works, So,
That's right. All right, stay with us. When we come back, more from our expert contributors. We're also expecting attorney Frank Miranda to make his debut to the show here coming up after this short break. We also have our feel-good story of the day. Man named Miracle saves woman who plunged into creek. Stay with us. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, this is Jarek Robbins. You are listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show with Brandon Rhymes. Please do what it takes to learn all that you have to live the life you want to live it fully, and find a way to give it by paying it forward to others.
Get in touch with Brandon online at consumerqb.com.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, your host of the Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. And we're going to jump right into our feel-good segment of the day.
Tell me something good.
Man named Miracle saves woman who plunged into creek. So a truck driver in Baker County, Florida, is being credited for saving an elderly woman's life. Chris Miracle, he's 26 years old. He was heading to another county around 2 a.m. Thursday when he noticed lights flashing in the woods near a church. He drove around another half a mile and turns around. He says, wait, something didn't feel right. I have to turn around. So searching for the source of the light through some thick brush about 40 yards off the road, he spotted a car plunged headfirst into a creek. He opened the car door and found 77-year-old 84-year-old woman trapped inside. The driver reportedly veered off the road after an apparent mishap with medication. Without a phone and unable to open the door, she turned on her hazard lights, played gospel music, and prayed. The woman who asked to be not to be identified is out of the hospital and doing well. She told her that she's thankful for Miracle and the first responders who came to rescue her. Miracle said he doesn't think it's likely that he would have noticed the car without the flashing lights. He said that he doesn't think anyone would have seen it during the daytime either. God's work, he said, right place, right time. It was meant to be. Feel good story of the day, Consumer Quarterback Show. All right, we got attorney Frank Miranda in the house. Frank Miranda, a local attorney, real estate attorney. He's a litigator. He's one of these attorneys that actually goes to court and litigates. And then also,
that's why I was late.
That's why you're late. You're coming from a case downtown. And then you have your office location right here on Cypress in Tampa. Do real estate closings as well.
Hey, real quick, though, that feel-good story is phenomenal because the driver's last name is Miracle.
Isn't it?
And it's just a great
Our
irony
producer's
there.
last name is Miracle, too.
Oh, really?
There's Mike right there. Mike Miracle.
Well, Mike, if there's an opportunity to jump in and help somebody, I suspect with that last name, you're obligated, right?
Yeah, right. That's it. That's interesting. So, yeah, I love that feel-good segment. We've had some really good stories over the years.
Those are the best part of the show, I think. I love that part of the show.
Yeah, man. And second best is a consumer advocacy. So, as a consumer advocate and a passionate attorney, what do you see happening in the real estate space right now?
Well, and there's a lot of things happening in a lot of people who want to get involved in real estate on an investment side. What I've seen really in the last 6 weeks, there's been some issues where I've come to a situation where somewhere down the lane of the chain of title, someone who owned it prior to you trying to buy it, apparently a dead person signed a deed. Ooh. So that's kind of a sticky situation. And so trying to find out who really signed that deed and what's going to fall out of that's going to be a very convoluted situation.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so there's some other issues where I've had really in the last 6 weeks where one person contracts to sell a house legitimately, somehow gets a better offer and double books it. So they sign another contract for a higher price, and the first buyer is out there going, well, you agreed, we shook hands, we signed a contract, we put down a deposit money, we're ready to go, and you can't just automatically just get rid of my offer in the deal because you think you get something better.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things happening out there in real estate, and you gotta, if you want to be an investor and you want to play the game, there's some risk involved. There's a lot of risk involved.
Yep.
And you don't want to be out there in the wind. The third aspect that happened to me this week is someone an investor bought a deal from a foreclosure sale, and lo and behold, there's a prior mortgage. The second mortgage is the one that foreclosed upon. So there's a huge debt in front of it. So it is not as easy as the DIY shows make it. Okay,
that's for sure.
And it can be if you're knowledgeable, a great investment.
Right.
I mean, I personally own real estate, and I think it's a great investment. But if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're not trusting the right professionals to guide you, and if they're not insured, and there's a variety of other factors, if you're not covering yourself, you can lose a lot of money.
That's right, Frank. Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at this, the contract that you had said, you got contract A, contract B, that owner could sue for a specific, or that buyer could sue the owner for a specific performance, correct?
Absolutely. So if they wanted to go ahead and get that house, we would file a lawsuit. We would file what's called a lis pendens at the same time. All that means is a fancy word that says, it's a one-page document that says, hey, world, everyone out there, I'm out here. So if you take title of this property, you have to deal with this problem. So once that is filed in the public records, everyone pursuant to law is obligated to have constructive knowledge of what's in the public records. And if you buy a piece of property and don't check the public records, you're taking it subject to that problem. So you just bought yourself a problem.
Yeah.
Just like the analogy I gave a second ago, where someone bought a foreclosure sale and it was a second mortgage that foreclosed, not the first. And there's an issue there because first mortgage company saying I was recorded. There's constructive knowledge out there. You got to deal with me now.
There was a big issue last year too. I want to say it's about a year ago, maybe 18 months, on St. Pete Beach or one of the beaches. That a very similar situation happened, and it was one of the mortgages showed up that they thought was satisfied. Do you get anybody remember that one? It was in the
that
papers.
Happened to me in a commercial space that
really?
I was renting.
Wow.
I was renting from somebody who bought it as a foreclosure property, and they paid off whatever second lien it was, or whatever the purchase price was for that purpose. And there ended up being a first lien. And, of course, that bank wanted, the property because they weren't paid.
Did they sue you as a tenant?
I got served on some paperwork because I was the tenant. But I didn't get sued, no.
Probably noticed, constructive notice. By the way, that's Scott Kepler, Mortgage Approval Group. We got Jake Alexander in the house, Alexander Financial, and attorney Frank Miranda, Frank Charles Miranda Law here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. So, yeah, Frank, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with a real estate transaction. These shows on TV make it seem like it's so easy to do. By the way, I was just talking with some folks over the weekend. There's a gentleman that was he almost won some type of $1 million giveaway, and then now he's starting an HGTV show here in Tampa Bay. I forgot his name. I meant to reach out to him. James, remind me to reach out to this gentleman, but I'd like to get him on the show. But his whole show is about 90 days, and he's going to build the house in 90 days, and that's his show.
From the ground?
And he's from the ground up. Yeah, 90-day build your house. Yeah, and he's doing
that's
a show.
Almost a miracle, because if you can get anyone in construction to show up,
that's what I'm
show
saying.
up more than once in 90 days, you're lucky.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, so interesting stuff. And in Tampa Bay, just another great, just a great market in itself, and that again proves it. Another highly touted show coming to the area. But when it comes to real estate transactions, man, there's a lot of situations that could go haywire.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad things that can happen. So what happens is, it's my understanding before I got here, you guys were talking about some of this discount brokerage firms that may be advertising they can sell your house for less.
That's right.
Who's going to walk your hand through the process when it comes to closing? Half these companies or all these companies, I think, to my knowledge, are stationed outside the state of Florida. What do they know about Florida law?
Mm-hmm.
And so the people I've spoken to at these people at these companies are effectively, in my opinion, they're not qualified to discuss anything involving a Florida contract or closing. All they know is that their company has deals with other big companies, and they're going to push this through, and they're going to make it look like you're buying a dog. It's that simple. It's not that simple. And the fact that you go out there and you put down, for the most people, they're going to put down most, if not all, of their savings, and they're going to trust that everything's done correctly. I hope you take more of a look at it than you would at a simple text message or something of that nature. Take it more seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, this is kind of like the concept where you feel pain in your jaw and you feel pain in your arm. It might be a heart attack.
Right.
So treat that seriously. It's not just, I'll blow it off.
That's right.
So when it comes to the largest investment in your life, or it comes to a largest investment when it comes to your investment portfolio, when you start thinking about doing investment properties, first and foremost, never put it in your own name.
Yeah.
I mean, let's start with the most basic concepts.
That's right.
Okay, so let's do something that helps protect your assets along with some of your estate planning along the way.
Yeah, put it into an LLC. A lot of times you'll see that. Trust would also give you protection in certain capacities as well. So, some good stuff there. Attorney Frank Miranda. And let's jump into our lightning round here.
The lightning round!
I am so good at lightning rounds!
I majored in lightning.
All right, top tips, nuggets of advice, parting words of wisdom. Scott Kepler, Mortgage Approval Group.
I think my parting words of wisdom would be, Brandon, just to tell consumers not to be scared to reach out to the professionals who know the business, and talk with us and pick our brains, and let's get the real deal information.
That's right.
If you need to get from point A to point B, and you know what your goal is, and they're talking with you, maybe you don't handle, for example, the mortgage side, but who to refer to them to that will take them by the hand and walk them through the process to work with you at the same time and communicate with you.
That's right.
That whole communication piece to get them to that end goal.
Super connector. That's me right there. And Jake Alexander, Alexander Financial.
Yeah, my parting words would be work with your team of professionals. I think this is like the perfect panel. Hearing you say what you said about people getting into things kind of over their head without exactly knowing what they're doing is very interesting. And then we were talking about it a little bit before you got here. People just not being prepared from a financial statement, tax return perspective. It's be proactive about everything and work with the right team of professionals is my message. So
excellent, good stuff. Attorney Frank Miranda.
Yeah, to follow up on that, when you're going to make a large investment in real estate, number one, read something before you sign it. Let's start with the basics. Number two, if you have any questions whatsoever, first and foremost, never buy a rental property that you're going to invest in your own name. create an entity. Okay, let's start having some asset protection on there. Call my office if you have any questions. That's 254-2637, area code 813. But you have to protect yourself before you put the money down. Let's start with that. Let's start with the basic fundamentals. Before you call a football play, you got to have a team.
That's right.
Okay, and so when you get that team together, then you start making the play calls, and we can direct you how to make those play calls. And really, like the quarterback, let's score a touchdown. But you can do it, and you can minimize your risk.
That's right. Yeah, I like that, because you're going to have different types of offenses at certain times of the game, and different strategies when you're going into the big game, the Super Bowl game, for example. We mentioned the Patriots earlier. We were talking about, making sure your team talks to the whole team, because there's so many different forms and documents, especially when you get into tax filings. There's a lot of things that it can be convoluted, become into a pile of coat hangers if you're not careful. So reach out to the best professionals, consumerqb.com. We got you covered at consumerqb.com. And also, please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Pack up some food or clothing, carry it with you to and from that commute, hand it to that person that you see in need, and be a force for good in the community. I want to thank our expert contributors today. Great show, and check out consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Contact Brandon Rhymes at 813-670-7372. That's 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show, weekday afternoons at 5 on AM 1380. The Biz.
Are you a real estate agent looking to take your business to the next level and supercharge your marketing? Hi, I'm Brandon Rhymes, owner of Platinum MVP Realty and host of the Real Estate Quarterback Show, syndicated radio and TV show talk program on iHeartRadio, 102.5 The Bone, daily 5 o'clock drive time on 1380 The Biz, and our TV show is on WeBeam TV. We're looking for real estate agents that want to join our team and supercharge their marketing utilizing some of our innovative strategies. We utilize the Real Geeks platform, Facebook marketing, internet marketing, and a lot of the traditional methods as well. Postcard mailers mailed for you, postage, signage, business cards, all paid for by the company. Aggressive real estate splits and ways to help you win in any marketplace. We need you to go out, take applications, and work our plethora of leads that we're generating on a daily basis. Reach out by clicking the form below, and we'd love to have a confidential interview with you.